Welcome back. I'd like to talk a little bit about spectacle. And this understanding comes from a wonderful teacher of story, Blake Snyder. I was working with a very dear friend of mine. We were working on a script that he was writing, and it was this beautiful true story about a soldier during World War II, and they got stuck in an abbey in France while it was being bombed. And they made it out miraculously, and just a wild, beautiful love story. So at that time, I was studying a lot of screenwriting books, and I came across Blake Snyder's work, Save the Cat. And it was just so clear and so amazing. He had broken down story all the way to its bones, and he was encapsulating all these learnings so profoundly. It just really blew me away. It really blew my mind, and I had the wonderful opportunity to take his class and meet him right before Blake suddenly had a heart attack and passed away. So right before he left this world, I got a chance to meet him. Amazing soul. He had such deep insight into story, and he really loved just spending tons of time hearing your story and helping you to develop your story. And in his book, he has this principle about spectacle. So what I want to talk about is spectacle versus a true story. To have a feel of that by watching different movies, and how this applies to our spiritual life and to spiritual teachings that you might come across. So let's get into it. There was this movie that came out, The Watchmen, and that was such a fantastic example of a spectacle type movie. If you go watch The Watchmen, I think the original screen time was like 2.5 hours. It is so long. And of course, everybody who's into comic books, they absolutely adored that movie because, oh my God, these comic books finally came to life. But for somebody who loves story, it was just, oh my God, it was 2.5 hours or 3 hours, just this crazy amount of time. And there was so little that the story had to say. So it's all these amazing visuals. I mean, really beautiful visuals. There's this one character, I forget the character's name, but he's all blue. And so if you go see that, it will remind you of Krishna or Rama and how they're blue, right? Vishnu. And so it's a beautiful movie, but it has almost nothing to say. It's just all the visuals. And this is what Blake would call a spectacle movie. So a lot of movies have very little story. They have very little to actually say to you, but they want to keep your attention, and so they give you all of these visuals. Maybe it's all of this action, or maybe all of these explosions. Don't get me wrong, I love a good action movie, but a story has to have a heart. It has to have something to actually tell you. And when you don't have much to say, a movie will always err on the side of spectacle. And those movies might be wildly successful, wildly popular, but it will always fade. It will never become a cult classic. The ones that stay, the ones that hit our hearts, of course. It's the story which just captivates you, that just hits you in your heart. So a movie like Ghost with Patrick Swayze, amazing movie, very, very small budget. It was not expected to be a success, but that story came out and it hit all of us, and we loved it. Cult classic to this day. And the message, oh my God, the message. You'll watch that story and that message will stay with you for days, weeks. It hits you, it hits your heart. It really has something to say. I'm bringing all this up because I had a student attend a class by a teacher, and this teacher uses a lot of spectacle in his teaching. So he gives you some technique, and then he takes you on this roller coaster ride of spectacle. The music gets really big and really loud, and he's using hypnotic influencing to help you to get deep into the meditation. And it's a lot of spectacle. And don't get me wrong, spectacle can be really powerful. I love Tony Robbins as an example. Tony Robbins gives you a little bit of NLP, a little bit of coaching, and a lot of spectacle. If you go to a Tony Robbins event, they're shooting fireworks, there's video screens all around you. There's tons of powerful music. It's just spectacle, spectacle, spectacle. And you can't help but be, oh my God, this is great. But then you come out of the class and eventually you crash. And the only way that you can find some of those states that he was teaching you is to go back and take his class again. So you become addicted to the spectacle, but you don't internalize as much of the true story of what we need to get done internally. That was very different from my training with Tad James. When I took NLP with Tad James, when I took timeline therapy, wonderful, wonderful teaching, and it was just, I'm giving you this, and 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 there was no spectacle. It was just a lot of do, and learn. And you walk away with all of these tools. And while Tad was teaching, he'd often bring up Tony. And so one of the students went out while they were attending Tad's class, and they got a Tony Robbins book. And they're just flipping and reading. It's just like, it's really good, but he's only given me one technique in the entire book. So again, I love Tony Robbins. Nothing against this teacher. I'm just saying there's a difference between the true story that touches your heart and changes your life and spectacle. There's a difference between those two. And if you understand that, then you can look at a teaching, you can look at a movie, and you can say, is this all spectacle? Where's the heart? Where's the truth? Where's the core? Where does it hit me? And if you have that understanding, you can start to make sense of different teachings. It gets a lot easier. Where's the true heart of this message? What am I really walking away with? And I just want to bring that up, but I really think that all of you pretty much get that. But it's still fascinating, right? To think about these things, to see it play out in a movie like The Watchmen versus Ghost, amazing movie. To see how that plays out, watch a little bit of both and see how the ghost story will just, oh my God, it's so great. It's so classic, just amazing, amazing movie. Will absolutely touch your heart. But I really think that you guys already get this because you're here. And look around, there's no spectacle. We're just heart and truth and technique, and it's just heart and truth and technique and heart and truth and technique, and very, very, very little spectacle around here, right? So I'm guessing you have already internalized that, but now you can verbalize it a little bit, and when somebody says, oh, you've got to look at this teaching, and you can say, oh, that's nice. That's a lot of spectacle. What did you walk away with? And you'll be able to verbalize this truth just a little bit, right? So I hope you love this. If you did, be sure to hit that bell down below so I can see all of you next time.